The soft skill, automation gap. Why empathy is the new business moat. Robots are coming for all our jobs. That sentiment is the new boogeyman. That isn't what bothers me. It's not AI taking over the world. It's watching small business owners automate themselves into irrelevance. Hi, my name is Scott Lindsay, and look, I've been in the trenches for decades. Chief Risk Officer, CFO of a publicly traded bank, started my own internet solutions company that served over 85 financial institutions. And here's what I'm seeing right now that honestly terrifies me. Everyone's racing to automate everything, and they're accidentally destroying the one thing that actually makes their business valuable. Are you building a business that AI can't touch? Because most companies are optimizing themselves into oblivion, focusing purely on efficiency while completely ignoring the one competitive advantage that actually matters in 2026. Here's the thing. While everyone else is obsessed with chatbots and workflow automation, there's this massive gap opening up. And the businesses that recognize it, they're building moats so deep that AI can't even see the bottom. But before we dive in, do me a favor. If you're a small business owner trying to figure out how to compete in this AI-saturated world, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me, what's one customer interaction you're currently automating that maybe you shouldn't be? Because I will read every single comment, and your real-world examples help shape future episodes. So let me paint you a picture of what's happening right now. There's this company, mid-sized professional services firm, about 50 employees. Their customer satisfaction scores were tanking. And you know what they'd done? They'd implemented this beautiful, sophisticated AI customer service system, state-of-the-art. It could handle 80% of inquiries without human intervention. Sounds great, right? Efficiency through the roof, cost per interaction plummeting. Except here's what was actually happening. A longtime client calls in because they're worried about a regulatory change affecting their business. The AI routes them through a decision tree, provides the technically correct answer from the knowledge base, and closes the ticket. 15 minutes, problem solved. But that client didn't just want information. They wanted reassurance. They wanted someone to understand the weight of what they were dealing with. They wanted to hear, yeah, this is tricky, but here's how we've helped 3 other clients navigate this exact situation, and you're going to be fine. The AI gave them data. What they needed was understanding. And this is where it gets interesting because we're not just talking about customer service. I'm seeing this pattern everywhere. Sales teams using AI to personalize outreach at scale, except the personalization is just mail merge on steroids, and prospects can smell it a mile away. HR departments automating the entire recruiting process, then wondering why they keep hiring people who look perfect on paper but don't fit the culture. You know what I mean? It's like we've confused efficiency with effectiveness. Here's the uncomfortable truth. AI is really, really good at patterns. It can analyze thousands of customer interactions and tell you the statistically optimal response. But here's what it can't do. It can't read the silence on the other end of the phone. It can't pick up on the subtle shift in someone's tone that tells you they're not actually okay with the solution you just proposed. It can't sense when someone's question about pricing is actually anxiety about whether they can afford to stay in business. The gap. So let's talk about what I call the empathy gap. And I need to be clear here. This isn't some touchy-feely concept. This is a genuine strategic vulnerability that most businesses are creating without even realizing it. Think about the traditional customer journey. Someone has a problem, they reach out, you solve it, they're happy. Simple, right? But there's this invisible layer underneath that journey, the emotional and psychological needs that never get articulated. There's a retail business that implemented AI-powered inventory management and automated reordering. Brilliant system, cut their costs by 30%. But here's what they didn't account for. Their longtime vendors weren't just suppliers, they were relationships. These were people who would rush a delivery when the business got slammed unexpectedly, who would hold product when cash flow was tight, who would flag issues before they became problems. The AI optimized for price and efficiency. It couldn't recognize the value of a vendor who picks up the phone at 7 p.m. on a Friday when you're in a crisis. That's an empathy gap, and it cost them way more than they saved. Or consider this use case. There's a consulting firm that started using AI to draft initial client assessments. The AI would analyze the client's data, industry benchmarks, historical patterns, and produce these incredibly detailed reports, technically flawless. But when the consultants presented these reports, something was off. The recommendations were correct, but they weren't landing. You know why? Because the AI couldn't account for what wasn't in the data, the founder's personal attachment to a particular product line that was underperforming, the recent loss of a key team member that was affecting morale, the unspoken tension between departments that colored every strategic decision. The AI saw numbers, the consultants needed to see people. And here's the kicker. The clients weren't even consciously aware this was happening. They just felt like the firm didn't really get them anymore. That intangible sense of being understood started evaporating. This is what happens when you automate without considering what you're actually automating away. You're not just removing inefficiency, you're removing the connective tissue that makes business relationships resilient. The opportunity. But here's where this gets really interesting and why I'm actually optimistic about all of this. Because while everyone else is zigging toward automation, there's this massive opportunity to zag toward human connection. Empathy isn't just a nice-to-have anymore, it's becoming the ultimate business moat. And the reason is simple economics. Scarcity creates value. In a world where every business has access to the same AI tools, the same automation platforms, the same data analytics, what's actually scarce? Genuine human understanding. The ability to make someone feel seen and heard. The capacity to navigate complex emotional dynamics while solving practical problems. Let me give you a concrete example of what this looks like in practice. There's a financial services firm, small operation, maybe 20 advisors. They're competing against robo-advisors that can build portfolios for a fraction of the cost. On paper, they should be getting crushed. But here's their process. When a new client comes in, they don't start with a risk tolerance questionnaire. They start with a conversation about what money means to that person. What are they actually trying to accomplish? What keeps them up at night? What financial mistakes did their parents make that they're terrified of repeating? And this isn't just feel-good stuff. This shapes everything. They had a client who, based on all traditional metrics, should have had an aggressive growth portfolio. Young, high income, long time horizon, but through actual conversation, they discovered this person had watched their parents lose everything in the 2008 crisis. The optimal portfolio wasn't the one with the highest expected return. It was the one this person could stick with during volatility without panicking. Any AI could have built that first portfolio, only a human could have built the right one. And here's what's beautiful about this. It's defensible. Another firm can't just copy it. You can't reverse engineer empathy. You can't A/B test your way to genuine human connection. But, and this is crucial, you have to be intentional about it. It doesn't just happen. You need processes that create space for empathy even while you're using AI everywhere else. So what does that actually look like? Let's get practical. First, you need to identify the high empathy moments in your customer journey. These are the points where emotional stakes are high, where context matters more than efficiency, where getting it wrong creates lasting damage. For most businesses, this includes handling complaints, discussing pricing or renewals, onboarding new customers, and any moment of significant change or uncertainty. Those moments, that's where humans need to be, not as a backup to AI, but as the primary experience. Second, you need to train your team differently. And I don't mean train them to be nice. I mean train them to actively gather emotional and contextual intelligence. What are the questions that reveal unstated needs? How do you create space for people to express concerns they might not even be fully aware of? How do you distinguish between the stated problem and the actual problem? There's a B2B software company that does this brilliantly. When a customer reports a technical issue, their support team is trained to ask, "What were you trying to accomplish when this happened?" 9 times out of 10, there's a more fundamental need underneath the surface issue. Maybe the feature isn't broken. Maybe it's not designed for their actual workflow. That one question transforms support from reactive to consultative. Third, and this is where it gets really interesting, you need to create feedback loops where human insights inform your automation. Don't just let AI run on autopilot. Have your team flag patterns they're seeing, the emotional undercurrents, the contextual factors, the situations where the optimal solution isn't actually optimal for that specific human. And look, if this is resonating with you, if you're realizing that maybe you've been so focused on efficiency that you've accidentally automated away your competitive advantage, do two things for me. First, subscribe to this channel because we're going deep on these kinds of strategic gaps every single week. Second, comment below with the biggest challenge you're facing in balancing automation with human connection, because I'm planning future episodes based on what you're actually struggling with, and I want to make sure I'm addressing your real concerns. The reality check. Now, let's be honest about something. This isn't about going back to some pre-technology utopia where every interaction is a handcrafted, artisanal customer experience. That's neither realistic nor desirable. AI is incredible. Automation is essential. I'm not suggesting you should manually process invoices or have humans respond to every email. That would be insane. What I'm saying is this: be strategic about what you automate and what you don't. Recognize that there's this whole category of business activities where the human element isn't just valuable, it's the entire point. The businesses that are winning right now, they're using AI to handle the routine so their humans can focus on the exceptional. They're automating the transactional so they can invest in the relational. There's a healthcare practice that uses AI for appointment scheduling, insurance verification, basic patient intake, all the administrative friction that used to eat up staff time. But then, when a patient walks in the door, the staff actually has time to notice if someone seems anxious, to ask follow-up questions, to provide reassurance. The AI isn't replacing empathy, it's creating space for it. And here's the thing that a lot of people miss. This actually shows up in your numbers. Customer lifetime value, referral rates, price sensitivity, resilience during tough times. All of these metrics improve when people feel genuinely understood by your business. I saw this firsthand when I was running my internet solutions company. We were serving financial institutions, banks, credit unions, and yes, we had sophisticated technical infrastructure. But you know what actually retained clients year after year? When their CEO knew they could call me directly if something went wrong, when they felt like we understood the regulatory pressure they were under, when we anticipated problems before they knew they had them. In addition to the financial institution clients, we had hundreds of thousands of internet access customers. I would man the technical support line multiple times a month to hear firsthand customer problems or even complaints. They were always shocked to find out the owner of the company was helping them. That single step went a long way in customer loyalty. That's not something you can automate. And it's not something your competitors can replicate by just buying the same software you have. The call to action. So here's what I want you to do. This week, I want you to audit your business through this lens. Map out your customer journey and identify every point where you've introduced automation. Then ask yourself, at each of those points, what are we gaining in efficiency and what might we be losing in connection? And be brutally honest, because sometimes the answer is nothing. This automation is pure upside. Great, keep it. But sometimes you'll realize you've automated away the exact moments that used to make customers feel like you really understood them. Those moments, that's where your moat is. Start with just one point in your customer journey. Just one place where you can reintroduce the human element in a way that creates genuine understanding. Test it, measure it, see what happens to customer satisfaction, to retention, to referrals. Because here's what I've learned across all my years as a chief risk officer, CFO, entrepreneur: the businesses that survive and thrive aren't the ones that adopt every new technology first. They're the ones that understand what makes them truly valuable and protects that at all costs. In 2026, in a world of infinite AI, what makes you valuable is your ability to make people feel understood. That's not a soft skill. That's your competitive advantage. If you found this valuable, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Tell me, what's one area of your business where you think you might have automated away empathy without realizing it? I'm genuinely curious, and your insights help shape what we cover next. And remember, you don't need luck. You need knowledge. And understanding the empathy gap, that's knowledge that can't be automated. I'll see you in the next one.